Are we there? Are we there?
We're live. Hello,
So
everyone.
weird.
Russ of Aquarimax here with Johannes or Josh of Isobuddies Productions. Excited to talk about ants today. I'm sure we'll get to some other topics as well, but the focus is on ants. Josh has been keeping ants for a while now. How long have you been keeping them?
A little over a year. I did my math the other day. I checked my notebooks. It's a little over a year, but I did the same thing I did with isopods. Is I did a deep dive before I got them. And then I threw all of that out the window once I got them and decided to go my own way. And yeah, it's been good and bad. So
okay, and we'll talk about the good and the bad. We'll talk about all of it, so that anyone else who's listening and wants to get into the ant keeping hobby will kind of, know what they're getting into.
I have a couple options to give you. There's a little advice.
So it'll be great. Looks like we got a lot of the regulars in here for live streams. We got Hobby Strange Pets, Mentis God, Crollo Gray. I think that might be the first time I remember that. 503 Menageries here. Green Jedi Monkey,
good.
Frank the Tank. Some of these we share as viewers, which is great.
You can see the comments.
Vicabulous and
Wally's here.
Is Wally?
Mantis God,
there's Wally. Supreme
Vika Bubbles.
Yeah. J-Man is here. Welcome, J-Man. Been a while. Toilet Pete's here. Yeah, you say Vika Bubbles. Yeah, I noticed that in your video recently. Wendy Hickson's here. Great. So we got off to a good start. And just if any of you, I know some of you are already viewers. You already watch Isobuddies Productions videos, but if you don't yet, just notice that the banner there is going to be scrolling Isobuddies Productions. Why did I say bodies? Isobuddies Productions. This whole time. That's got to be it.
Body by COVID. Yes. Yes.
So yeah, you should check it out if you haven't. He does lots of cool stuff with guests from Millipede, Springtails. I'm listening to the one on Springtails right now. I was listening to it on my way home. I wanted to watch it. I couldn't because I was driving, but I was listening and thinking, oh, I've got to go back and watch this so I can see these awesome Springtails you're talking about. Millipede, Springtails, isopods, ants, let's see, velvet worms,
everything,
all kinds
velvet
of
worms. We had velvet worms. We've done we were supposed to do birds. We had a reschedule issue. We were going to do birds. Next week we're doing geckos again, fat tail geckos. I realized early on that isopods are kind of a niche market, and there's a lot of isopod channels already. So yeah, it's really good. The stream yesterday was really, really good. We had a great time. But anyway, the isopods, it's very a niche market, and it's already kind of saturated. And then it occurred to me that isopods and bioactivity is so huge right now. Everything is connected. You'll see when you might see some isopods run through my ant farm when we go to that terrarium view. But I wanted to branch out and just explore all the hobbies that are even loosely connected with keeping exotic pets and connected to bioactivity. So, because there's so many great people out there and so many great hobbies.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. I think that's part of how, I make a lot of isopod content, of course, on my channel, but I also do other stuff. I do reptile stuff and fish stuff and other arthropod stuff and amphibian stuff. It's all connected, like you say. And so that's why I call it Aquarimax Pets. And that's why I have a frog as my logo, because it's bridging the gap between terrestrial and aquatic creatures, and I do all of that. So
that's why I've never seen a frog on your channel, and so but I love it. Yeah,
and I do actually have some frog videos on my channel, but they're not the most common video that I do. But
I will say I avoid them. I avoid dart frog videos because I know I'll go so deep in that it'll be like up to here immediately, and I don't have that kind of budget right now.
Yeah, I totally know what you mean. They can be addictive. I've managed to keep my collection of dart frogs small, but
smart.
It's hard.
Do you cohab, or are your frogs all just pure one species per tank?
I only have one species right now. When I first got them, they were actually gifted to me from a bug buddy of mine who was also a big frog beater, Frank of Frank's Frogs, and he brought over a trio of bumblebee dart frogs and one aratus.
I love aratus. They're beautiful.
They are. And I was keeping them together and they were doing okay. But then when I was I was moving the vivarium, and actually the aratus hopped out without me noticing when I was moving it. And so I found it later and it was a little crispy. So I was sad about that.
That's so sad.
It was very sad. It was a very shy frog because a lot of the Auratus tend to be a lot shyer than the bumblebees, but it was gorgeous. It was gorgeous. But now I just have my trio of bumblebees that I've had forever, and they've produced tadpoles for me, and I've raised them up into little froglets and rehomed them and stuff.
That's fantastic.
So they're pretty cool. Oh, we got a lot more people in the house now. We got
we do.
Theropod Hunter is here. Sean Meister's here. Other people joining in. So that's great. Well, and here I am talking about frogs when we should be talking about.
I feel right at home. We have so many tangents on my show. That's all we do.
Well, live streams, it's inevitable that we're going to have some tangents. But so now we're going to talk a lot about your ants. And you mentioned that you've had them for about a year. And tell us the species that you've worked with so far.
This species that we're going to feature tonight is Camponotus discolor. You'll have to forgive me because I don't really know all of the crazy names on all of them. I have 3 Camponotus queens right now. One is in this tank, the 29-gallon tank. One is the other 2 are in test tubes. One has 8 children, 8 little daughters, and the other one is solo because her daughters abandoned her in a mishap of mine. Like I said, I made some mistakes. So they abandoned her, and I think she was too chunky to get away. So, or she would have gone with them. But she's been alone for over the winter. She's doing good, but no eggs.
So is she just, you're able to feed her just fine? She eats and doesn't need workers to feed her and all that?
She is feisty. No, they don't need workers to feed them. They need workers to bring them food. So I'm her hive right now.
Okay, so as long as it's there in front of her, she'll eat it just fine.
Yeah, so she has a little thing. I'll bring the tubes out and kind of show you my setup for my tubes.
Cool.
I got bigger glass tubes because Camponotus are big ants. So Camponotus is like your carpenter ant, right? So Camponotus discolor is the one in the tank. The 2 that I have in the tubes is Camponotus chromates. I think I'm saying that right. And the other one is Camponotus novabarensis.
Okay,
so solo queen.
3 different species from the same genus. That's awesome.
Yeah, there's like thousands of Camponotus ants species. It's crazy, and they're all over the world. So these are all America. I will say I got mine on eBay. Don't do that because 2 of the species I got illegally. I didn't know I got them illegally. So I'm not promoting that. I did not do that on purpose. I didn't know any better to do the research. I just assumed that if you're selling it, and it's on eBay. I assumed it was square. It was not. So be careful. Do your homework. Don't import things you're not supposed to, kids.
Yep. My understanding, and I may have a limited understanding of this, but my understanding is that generally when people get ants, they can get their formicarium, their ant colony farm, whatever you call it. They used to call them ant farms. They're formicaria now, I guess. They can get that from anywhere, but once it's time to get their ants, it's best to source it from within your own state. Is that correct?
You really, the rule of thumb is just to source it in your own state. So I'm going on a field trip in April with a couple of guys, and we're going to go looking in Illinois, Southern Illinois, to see what we can get, what we can find there. And just to kind of it's more like a cataloging field trip to see what's out there and where it is. But you really, mostly they're illegal. There are quite a few species now. I don't know the numbers, but I know there's over a dozen now that you can get permits for the lower 48, excluding like Florida and probably Louisiana. The one at the recommendation I'll have for your formicaria is Tar Heel Ants. Tar Heel Ants makes the best formicaria I've seen. I don't own them yet because I don't have a species. I don't have a reason to. I don't have a big enough colony to put them in to justify that expense. They are not cheap, but they're handmade. Each one's made to order. And they're just chock full of great ideas. So, I can't remember his name right now, but the owner has been doing quite a bit of research and quite a bit of trial and error to get to where he is today. Do I have a lot of escapes? Cool. Yeah. So when you see the pictures, can we go to the pictures real quick? I'll show.
Yeah. Let's do that. Okay, so the stills.
Some of the methods I had to change because my girls they figured out. Okay, so right here, I'm going to point at the camera like I do on my show. Okay, you can see that lid with that weird grid on it, right? So that was my first attempt to cut plexiglass.
Better put the top there, right?
The top lid, yeah, that little sheet of plexiglass on the top. So it started to bow, so I put those struts on it. But anyway, that underneath of it has a layer of fluon, right? That's a chemical that's basically Teflon. So they can't get over it. Now you can see there's a film about 1 inch down from the top of the tank down the glass.
Yeah.
That's fluon as well, but there's spots where they have figured out that they can get over it. And they will put food and work at that one particular area for a while. So they will escape. So if you can see on the end of the tank there's that potted plant. That is a bunny tree, I think.
Okay. Yeah.
Or a mini rubber tree. So that's there too, and it works. If they do escape, they get out of here, they go into that plant and they burrow as a temporary satellite nest. So I still have probably 50 living in that plant. And then the plant underneath on the floor also has a small little satellite colony. But they can neither get in or out anymore. So I have a barrier on the outside of the tank to keep any like foreign ants from getting in. Maybe I get a pest ant species in the house. I don't want them invading my colony because they can do immense damage to your colony.
Yeah, that makes sense. And so you did have escapees at one point, and now the ones that are in the potted plants are just remnants of that escape event, or those escape events, but it's no longer occurring. Yeah.
No, it's been they've been pretty set up for about a month. They've been pretty solid. They have really tested me. So they got through every possible barrier. At one point I had Vaseline barrier, a talcum powder and alcohol barrier, and fluon, and they still managed to find a way to get out. And they would just do it all at once. So I would observe and be like, where are they getting out from? And I wouldn't see them. And then all of a sudden I would see a stream coming out one day. So it was just crazy. But I have probably 3,000 ants in that tank. So it's hard to notice. You can see, if you see the little soda caps or whatever, juice caps on the top of the wood there, the white one, there's just a ring of ants just enjoying a drink. So they've got their own little waterfall. I try to give them all the comforts of home, right?
Yeah, that's pretty awesome. I love the fact that you went big, and did you say it was a 29-gallon aquarium? It
is a 29-gallon. And I will say, folks, if you are using expanding foam and wood, be careful, because the expanding foam basically shattered one end of the tank. So
oh yeah, because it depending on which type. Did you use gaps and cracks?
I did. Formula?
Yeah. Yeah, that really grows.
Yeah, so it did. It cracked. I'm really glad it didn't do it to the other side too. But yeah, I came down one morning and it was just that the water from the bottom of it was just everywhere. And then because it initially had a built-in waterfall, but I broke that during maintenance. It was a first attempt as well. I handmade a waterfall, and during maintenance it broke. So it was not very well built. That's how you can see the expanding foam that I painted here. And then to the side, just right over where it says pod view, is where the waterfall got cut away. Like I had to pull it out of there and cut it out. So it's like bare wood and expanding foam there.
So did you have a pump on the waterfall initially?
I did, yeah. This one has a pump too, the one that's in there now, but it's just a store-bought like desktop, which I just was done with it at that point. I was like, the next one I build will be fantastic, but this one I'm just kind of patching as it goes. So there's no real way to break it down now. They're settled in, and the wood. So what you can see right now, the wood, this took me 4 months to build, which I don't do. I don't do a 4-month project at all. So the wood that I got is 4x4s here, 4-inch by 4-inch, and it's black walnut. So it's very hard wood. I burned through 3 Dremel tools. Yeah, when we show some of the smaller videos, I hand carved all the tunnels, all the chambers, everything. Like I said, it took me months. And then to get it all kind of flush and get it into and measured and figuring out all of that was kind of a nightmare, but it worked. But you can see there's weird gaps. This is also the first terrarium I ever built from scratch. So I went big all in one project.
Yeah, but the effect, it obviously is working for you. It's pretty cool. I'm enjoying it. Here's a question from Vicabulous.
Yes, I had them. I had one of my satellite colonies. I just got a tarantula, and I put her enclosure near them. Not near them, but on my desk next to it. She's right here. And they are right behind her, basically. That tank is just like 5 feet away. So she got invaded. I felt so bad. So her tank now is ant proof. They can't get in, but they got in and they just annoyed the crap out of her. I felt so bad because I just gotten her. So it was a lot of stress. But we figured that out because I had to handle her, had to get her out of there and empty it and redo the whole thing. Because I just didn't want, there was probably 60 or 70 ants in there and they were all in attack mode. Basically, they were very, very agitated. So I know that they were harassing the ever loving heck out of her. So these guys don't have a savage bite. It's more the spray. They have a little formic acid spray. And I'm a chef. Well, I was a chef, so I always have cuts on my hands from cooking. And they target those cuts and just fill them with that acid, and it hurts so bad.
Oh yeah,
so bad.
Formic acid is no joke.
Yeah, I have never had the queen escape. So I saw that picture from Javi Strange Pets. Jovi, is it okay if a few nanitics die? Yes, it is okay. It's normal that a few nanitics die. If you're thinking of getting ants, the nanitics are they're like the very first. They're like the prototype children of the ant queen. So they're not right. They're really they make poor choices. They don't function like a normal ant, like a regular ant. But she needs them to gather her supplies to make the normal ants.
Right.
So yeah,
that was a fascinating process to watch when I started out with ants. One thing I wanted to do today is talk about my ant experience compared to yours and how it's different. The hobby's different 20 years later, So, but I want to get into that a little later because we have a couple questions showing up. Here's another one.
I recommend. Okay, so this is a hot topic in the hobby. I like Ants Canada's old videos as far as information. If you're starting out and going to keep ants, I like their old videos. I have some of his supplies. I haven't bought his formicariums because I can't afford them. And they take forever to get here. Like they take forever. But I've heard that they are not the best quality. So I've heard bad reviews on them from people that I trust. So his old videos, if you want information, are great. If you want to be entertained with ants, his newer stuff, like the last year or so, is amazing. The stuff he builds, the stuff he has built for him, I need everybody to subscribe so I can afford that kind of lifestyle sometimes. Just build ant terrariums. His setups inspired this hillbilly version of his terrarium that I built here. But it's always sponsored by Pepsi. What, are you serious? Pepsi and Wally's Isopod Chow. Don't eat it. I tasted it the other day.
I loved that episode, by the way. You had me giggling a lot as I was.
If you finish the episode from last night, the kid we had on, Ryan, he has a springtail chow that he makes, and it's primarily mushroom powder, apparently. So he ate a spoonful of that last night for us, and totally unprompted. I mentioned it, and he was like, "I'm going to try this," and he said it tastes like feet smell.
Oh, well, that's probably when I'll pass on them.
I was like,
I'd rather have the flavorless bread of the Supreme Isopod chow than feet smell.
Yes, flavorless bread. That's exactly what it was. How do you tell if your queen is laying eggs? So I tell now. When you see the videos of my setup, I thought I saw her for the video. I was very excited, but I'm pretty sure it's not her. I'm pretty sure it's just a young major ant. So they're about the same size. But a young ant is called a callow, like when they're freshly eclosed from their cocoons. Eclosed has come out. Sorry. It's the only hobby I know words for. So, I see other ants carrying eggs around or holding eggs. And then I know that if I have fresh eggs, she's still around. Because I was worried several times that she had escaped. When I had my original escape, that was my fault. I had them in a tube setup. And I brought them out to show someone. And when I put them away, one of the tubes came loose. I didn't notice. So 2 days later, when I went to check on them, they were gone. And that's how I got the idea for the plants. They had made their way into a potted plant that was next to my crested gecko cage. I was very worried they went into my crested gecko cage, but there was only about 100, 150 at the time. But she escaped at that point. She was in there with all the babies in this little potted plant. So I put that in a tub and dug it all out and fished everybody out individually. and that took forever, and they were biting me savagely. That was not my favorite weekend. But we recovered. Thank God we recovered, because to have this much growth from a Campanota species in a year is insane. So they're generally very slow growing, but she doesn't hibernate. So she just went through the year just pumping out babies. And when you see the video and some of the pictures, you'll see the crazy amount of pupa and larvae that I have.
Yeah, let's actually look at that. Here's the start at the exterior, and
this is the back. This is the back of it, and she's in here somewhere, for sure. She's in here, but you can see how they don't need the tunnels. They can get up and down. It's because it's not perfectly sealed. This was very ambitious. That's where they come and go from the other panel. That hole right there. I'm pointing at the screen like you guys can see me, because I'm really dumb at this YouTube thing still. Everybody's right behind me, right? Is that how this works? But you can see the glue dots. So there's these glue dots where the wood is stuck. Here's where they dug out of this cotton barrier that I set up. So they dug through that to make a new hole. Because they do what they want. Ants will do what they want. You can set up the best terrarium ever, and they're going to dig into the dirt. This is heat cable that's packing taped to the side.
Okay. So
that's what keeps them in the tunnels, is they want the heat for their babies.
They want
the heat wasn't there. There is soil in the tank now, so they would be all in the soil if it wasn't for that.
Okay, but they're using that just thermoregulating for their babies. That's cool. Speaking of babies, here's the clip where you see a lot of pupae.
Oh yeah. This is the short side that I see. This is the main nest where they first entered. And these are super close-up views. That's right near the top. I'm always shocked with where they have the babies. So this is just layer on layer. This is right near the top, so it's very arid up here. And they've got pupa up there. They've got larvae. Here they're moving them around. They're always doing something with them too. I don't know. I don't know what the reasoning is. They're always taking pupa somewhere else.
I remember reading somewhere that they move their larvae and their pupae for thermoregulation, humidity regulation, stuff like that.
Yep.
Does that make sense?
Just piles. And that was just an avalanche of, there's some small larvae in that one. I'm pointing right in the center. There's that one running with small larvae clumped together.
Oh, yeah.
So you can see some of the ones that are lighter. You see that one right in the middle? That's a lighter color.
Is that a callow?
That's called a callow. Yeah, that's like a larger worker. Not quite a major. The majors are pretty beefy. So do you want me to throw we're going to do a live feeding today too, guys, because I want you to see the reaction of these guys. So pardon me, I'm going to go throw these in. I have 2 dubia nymphs and an adult cricket. So we're going to throw those 3 in there, and you're probably not going to see them get them, but you're going to see the reaction from the nest, and that's what I want to show.
Yeah, totally.
I'll be right back.
And when Josh is gone, I wanted to tell you a little bit about my ant keeping experience. I kept ants for about 3 years, a colony of ants that I just 20-ish years ago that I just put in a plastic container. I had test tubes and with rubber stoppers in the test tubes with glass tubes in them and stuff like that. Hooked it all together with aquarium tubing. That's how high tech I got back then.
That's how high tech a lot of people get now. Like, you can do this on the cheap with Tupperware and aquarium tubing.
Yeah.
And a little silicone and some cotton balls, and you're good to go. Plaster of Paris. Plaster of Paris is a big deal.
Now, is that more for the humidity, or is that more for providing areas you can carve tunnels into, or how does that work?
Yes, it's mostly for providing humidity, so it kind of absorbs it and releases it slowly. So, so you can see there's a lot more activity here. They're about to. This is kind of going on throughout the nest. In the next couple of minutes, they'll get the call that the dinner bell's on, and they'll all kind of come out and blanket this whole terrarium. They'll be up and down the glass. They'll be kind of all over in the next couple of minutes. They probably won't do it because I'm asking them to, but
I hope we get to see it. That'd be really cool. So Green Jedi Monkey has a question. Can you use ants as feeders?
I have used ants as feeders. I've tried it with my my newts here, and the best part, I felt bad because he swallowed it and then immediately spit it out, like coughed it up. So I think it was a little too spicy.
Doesn't like formic acid on his salad.
I think so, yeah. And it's in the water. My newts are aquatic, but still, he was not happy with that meal. So there are animals that eat them. I know there's at least one species of miniature or pygmy chameleon, Bruchesia, that are like ground dwellers, and they primarily eat ants. In the wild, that's all they eat. Yes, I have thought of keeping horned toads, but I imagine you would need a lot more ants than I have. So this tank would get wiped out pretty quick. Unless I guess using these as treats, maybe.
Yeah, that's a possibility. What I hear, I talked to a guy who breeds horned toads.
Okay.
And he said that you do need to give them some ants, but you can give them some other feeders as long as you use, there's a supplement from Apache that has formic acid in it, because they need the formic acid to digest their food properly.
Oh, wow.
And so as long as you give them that supplement, you can make sure some of their diet can consist of other things. You do need to still give them ants, but it'll help kind of stretch it out, so you can give them some crickets or whatever too. And so it would be pretty cool if you had one. I mean, you need UV light and you need various things, and you need to find a species you can actually keep, which is easier said than done. But
yeah,
a lot of them are protected.
If I get a couple more colonies going strong, I would consider an ant eating something that eats ants.
Yeah. Yeah. When I was a kid, I had a horny toad, and I had a colony of harvester ants that lived outside under this big slab of concrete we had in the backyard. And I would just take him out there and set him down. But I'd put a tire around the outside of the enclosure and set him down and watch him eat him. And then when he was done, I'd pick him up and bring him back in.
The tire, that's genius. That's so clever.
It was fun. I loved that little guy. But I didn't know about things like metabolic bone disease back then, because there weren't books about it or anything very much at the time. That was a long time ago.
Right. I feel bad for a lot of the creatures that I decided to keep as a kid, because you don't do, you're like, they live out here in the lawn. Like, what could they possibly need?
Yeah.
Sunlight, dum-dum.
Exactly.
More than Kellogg's Frosted Flakes. Harvester ants. I don't know if harvester ants would eat live dubia roaches. I don't feed live full-grown dubias because it would just take too long for them to murder it. And I think that's just like, it would take forever. And I think that's a little cruel. So I pre-smash, basically I smash and chop. So
that makes sense.
Yeah, I immobilize it. And then if you're going to do that, I take up pliers and crush the thorax, because that's where all the action is, right? So you could crush the head, but they're still going to run away. So once you crush that thorax, they're going to stay where you put them. I like to kind of, for cleanliness reasons too, I like to kind of be able to see what's happening with the prey item. So I don't want it to run off into a corner and I don't know what happened.
And then it rots or something.
Right. Well, they'll clean it out. But underneath this dirt is a false bottom of lava rock. And then there's like 3 inches of water throughout the whole tank. So and that helps to keep thermoregulating inside, or not thermoregulating, but hydroregulation in the, because there's holes underneath that wood, this wood structure on the sides. There's holes under there to help humidity come up, because they need that for the babies.
Okay. But see, this is the thing. Who was it? Was it Vicabulous who was mentioning that ants seem like a little bit more of a more complex arthropod than some others to keep, like compared to isopods, for example. I can see that. Yeah, there's a lot more going into this than you might think. Even looking at this and it's pretty complex what you've got here, but even just looking at it without the explanations you're giving, you don't have an idea of how complex it is. With the thermoregulation and the hydroregulation you're building into this enclosure, there's a lot going into it.
I want to say I've never put as much thought into a thing as I have this. So, and there are so many things I would do different. I'm proud of this. Don't get me wrong. There are so many things I would do different in a second run. So this tank was free though. So, hey, good times there.
Hey, yeah. And learning so much from it. I mean, it's worth it. And it's obviously successful. I mean, these ants are obviously thriving here. So
They're doing so well. My problem now is trying to figure out what I'm going to do to help them expand because they are outgrowing this tank.
And it would be logistically challenging to make anything that's connected to it, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So, like I was telling you before we aired the show, these ants, I don't know about other ants because I've got limited experience. They jump. They will jump from one thing to another. So, to get where they're going, not just to get away from something. So they'll look and they'll kind of eye it up, and then they look like a tiny crested gecko almost. They have that thing where their front legs are out, and then they just jump off, and it was crazy to see the first time.
That's pretty sweet. Ooh, Green Jedi Monkey, massive springtails. You were talking about massive springtails with your guest. Was it Ryan?
4 millimeters. Yeah, I was talking to Ryan yesterday. 4 millimeters, and those are local to Illinois. So I'm going to go out with him soon, ASAP, and go on a scavenger hunt for those. Now, okay, so these guys, I was just noticing that these guys I think they've cleaned out their springtails. When I first gave them springtails back when they were in a little plastic formicarium, 3D printed, they cleaned them out. They went on, they were like, this is the best thing ever. These are popcorn. They're delicious. So I had to do 3 batches of springtails for them to actually take. Right? For them to leave them. Yeah. And then in the outworld section that I had for them, I had isopods as well. And they left the isopods alone unless the isopods came down the main tube to the nest. Then that was hands off. But there's isopods. There's 4 species of isopod in here. There were springtails. Like I said, I haven't seen any in a couple of days. So I'm going to see what's going on there. So yeah, you can see there's not as much activity as I thought there was going to be. But they're definitely, they're up in this tree. I wonder if the cricket, yep, there's the cricket.
Oh, they're chasing the cricket down? Yeah.
He thought he could get away in the tree. Nope, sorry, buddy.
Oh, yeah, Mr. and Mrs. Morelia, we've been talking about Josh's ant colony, his Camponotus discolor, and how he built this colony, this setup or the formicarium for the colony, and how his colony's doing. And yeah, definitely catch the replay to catch what you missed.
They missed out. I just planted this vine down here too. I want to see how that goes. That's in 3 spots.
Is that an ivy?
It's just an ivy, yeah. So I want to see it kind of span out to give them some cover and to hold everything together a little bit.
Yeah, that'd be cool if you get going in there. Do you have lighting on that tank?
I have a right now. It's the basic lighting that I have is for the basement is a grow light shop bulb. Basically, it's like it's got 3 panels on it of LEDs. And I've got all my plants growing off of that. So I've got 2 of them actually. I spend a lot of time down here, so I want it to be as daylighty as possible.
Makes sense.
It is mildly horrifying. Yeah, they do jump. They jump. They get about, I don't know, like a centimeter span almost. Not straight across, but they get some velocity. Yeah, they make a noise. I have a short video on my YouTube channel where I filmed them. So if I blow on them, you'll see them lose their mind. But they come out and they make a noise like popcorn. It's like all this little, and they're doing it on purpose. So they don't always do it. So I don't know if they're clacking their jaws or what they're doing, but it's a conscious thing they're doing as a warning.
Interesting. Some kind of maybe stridulation or something. Who knows?
Yeah, I don't know. This colony is a year old. A little over. When I got the queen, she had about 30 workers in her, 25, 30 workers in her tube. I did not collect her myself. I have yet to successfully collect a queen by herself, like from a mating flight or something. Nuptial flight. Yeah.
Yeah. I, just to get back to the ants that I kept, 20 years ago, that's what I did. I collected, several queens of the same species. Right after nuptial flight, I watched them, they were flying. I waited till some ripped off their wings and were chugging around. And I picked up I think it was 3 or 4. It was either 3 or 4 of them and put them in. They all found the same test tube and were hanging out and we're doing fine, eating. Everything was good. They started producing some nanitics. And then one day I looked in there and all the other queens, but one had lost their heads. So
Yeah, I found a lot of species will get along until there's babies. Oh, there's the cricket.
Oh, yep, there it goes.
Now we'll see some action there on that rock.
Now they're getting excited.
That reaction? Yeah,
they're definitely getting excited. Yeah.
So that flat rock that they're all pouring over is that's from Morris Williamson. He carved that out. So the ants or the Inca lines, the giant Inca lines.
Oh yeah, like the Nazca lines. Yeah.
Yeah. So Nazca, sorry. So he did the ant one for me. He reproduced it on that.
That's so cool.
It was really cool. He did a really, really good job.
That's cool. Oh, so Green Jedi Monkey was asking about Firebats, and because 503 Menagerie was talking about, I lost it, the thread, but she was talking about collecting some, possibly using them as feeders. And I've actually, there's a gecko breeder in Europe somewhere who does that, breeds Firebats for gecko food. And there was someone here who used to do it. I don't know if he's still breeding them, but yeah, there are people who do it. So it can be done. And they make decent feeders, apparently, from the research I've done. I've never bred them, but
they're good size. They have a soft exoskeleton. I feel like they're basically silverfish.
Yeah.
I think we said that, right? They're basically arid silverfish, but they're good size. Like, I didn't realize they were a good half-inch long, probably.
Yeah, they're different sizes, different species. But yeah, they're not too small. Actually, yeah, Roach Crossing does have some. 503 was saying that. Roach Crossing has them too. That's one of the other, I had forgotten that he had them. But
well, and my guest yesterday will sell you some if you're interested. Cool. They are, I think the reason people don't keep them is because they're one step above super easy to keep. So you have to keep them heated.
Yeah.
So they need a really decent heat source. So they like it ridiculously. Like Uromastic's hot. So
yeah. And I wonder if there are some others. I find them here when I go up in the canyon in the summer and they're running around on rocks that you don't want to touch.
Oh, right.
They're
and
just too hot to touch. Yeah. So. Oh, and look at this. It looks like you may have a convert to the ant hobby in Christine right here.
Well, Christine, you can help me figure out how to get such amazing live plants, and I'll help you with ant advice.
There you go.
So, I just cleaned out my 2-gallon crystal bowl that I'm going to put something in. I don't know what yet, shrimp or springtails. I'm torn right now.
I have some suggestions for you too, just in case.
Oh, okay. All right. Good. We'll talk later.
Yeah. Oh, we got a super chat. First super chat of the day.
What is a very super chat?
Interesting podcast.
Oh man, I need some super chats. How do you do that?
Oh, Cha-ching. I love that.
I was like, what's the green comment? How did you get that?
Well, Vocabulous, I love the pun. It's worth it just for the pun, for the very interesting podcast. Love it.
See, I'd give him his $5 back for the pun. I didn't.
So as soon as your channel's monetized, you can get super chats. That's my understanding.
Oh crap, I've got a long way to go. Guys, get over there. Subscribe.
Your channel's growing. You're getting close to 200 subscribers now, right?
I am, yeah. I heard the first 1,000 is like super hard. So we'll get there.
Oh yeah.
I love my audience, so I'm happy.
Mm-hmm.
But if you guys want to send me $5, boom, I'm your guy.
There you go.
I'm kidding. Kind of. So what other species have I kept? So I wanted to talk about my tragedy. The tragedy that I had was my Aquarimax colonies. So it's a local species of fungus ants. So they are leaf cutters. So leaf cutter ants, for those of you that don't know, they cut leaves and vegetation and they feed it to a fungus that they come with. Like the queen carries a piece from the nest out with her when she mates. And from this little tiny piece of fungus, they grow it and it turns into, I had it about the size of a golf ball, right? And so in my eagerness to help them be more natural, like naturalistic setup, I think I overdid it and crushed them. I didn't crush them, but like they're basically dead. I don't know, but it's been about 6 months and I still have some ants in there. So I'm thinking maybe I have a queen or two left because they're one of the polygynous colonies too.
Okay.
So I had a colony of at least 6 queens and they had probably 500 or 600 members. Yeah, I need to do a Patreon. Vika Bubbles is He's down. I mean, I can tell he's down to be a supporter.
Yeah, it's a good idea. You should get that going. It's a good way to go.
Some more swanky sheets back here for my backdrop. This is made for a backdrop, and you get it, and it's literally a king size sheet. Like that's all it is.
That's all it is.
I was like, oh, at least it was only $10. This is what I got with I had my first donation, basically. That's what I used the money for.
Cool.
But yeah, so the Trachea myrmex colony, they were my favorite colony. They were right here on my desk. They're tiny. They're all over the place. I think they need a bigger area. So, or they want a bigger area because they would carry their dead sisters around for hours. They would just carry them around aimlessly looking for a spot to put them. And I think they want you know what I mean? They want a farther away space.
Right.
So they're not attracting attention. But they're so cool. They stridulate. When they get excited or they get scared, they play dead. They're super timid. They never, not an ounce of aggression in them. They're such a cool species, and they're so easy to keep because they don't take anything live. They don't take any prey. They just take vegetation. So, so I made a couple of errors, and I think I'm going to go through that colony or to go through that tub this week and see what I can salvage, if there's anything left in there worth salvaging. So I'm keeping them like they're still alive. I'm still feeding them and everything, but I don't see the numbers at all like I used to. There's like a couple dozen in there maybe.
Wow, it's kind of amazing the whole fungus, growing ant. I think that's wild.
It's crazy to me how many niches that they have figured out how to capitalize on in the wild, like all over wherever they're from.
Yeah.
So there's so many different. There's ones that have their head as a door, basically. So they use their head as a door for their tunnels. So they cut the hole perfectly to fit their head, and then they have ants that are doors.
And then you've got
I'm a door.
The honeypot ants.
Yeah.
And there's just so many. I remember reading about a diminutive species of ant that makes its entire colony within an acorn.
Yes, acorn ants. They're local to Illinois as well.
Yeah, that's so cool.
So eventually they spread out to multiple acorns, but you can keep a whole colony in their nest would be in an acorn. So if you find that acorn, that's awesome. Yeah. The cemetery that I harvest leaves and branches and stuff from for my other stuff, I'm always looking for acorns. I'm going through hundreds of acorns while I'm there. And I know people are like, what is that maniac? He really misses his grandma.
Excuse me.
Because I'm just out there digging around for acorns to see, because they'll have a little pinhole and they're so tiny. It's ridiculous.
Oh, yeah. I think that would be kind of fascinating. You might not see the inner workings of the colony, but at least you'd see them doing their thing in the outworld. Everything but the acorn is the outworld, right? Yeah,
absolutely. I have seen people stick them onto the glass, like they cut the acorn in half and rotate it out and stick it to the glass. That seems rather dangerous to me, but I've seen it done. So I would be curious to see how they did that, or if they just do it with an acorn and the ants move in. I don't know the details.
Oh, yeah, good point. It's really weird. I remember I would see I think they were maybe the Argentine ants that are also very tiny when I lived in Hawaii. And they were lightning fast though. So I don't know if it's that species or not, but really, really minuscule, but they were just all over the place.
Those are super invasive. Yeah, they're everywhere.
Yeah.
That's the ones that there's a video on YouTube. I forget the name of it. I should post a link to it at some point. It's about a mega colony, like a super colony. And so it's somehow they did DNA testing on it or something. And it's literally one colony of ants that is on 4 continents. So,
really?
Yeah. All originated. They're all identical, genetically identical to each other. So, 4 continents, and they're huge. They disperse and displace every species they come across. They're just, and I want to say it's Argentine ants.
Are they parthenogenic?
No, they have, but they're so inbred like that. Arthropods, inbreeding doesn't do so much, like it does on the scale of mammals or birds or vertebrates.
Yeah.
But they're crazy. Yeah, weaver ants. Weaver ants are awesome. There's so many different species that are just so crazy. We have thief ants here in Illinois too. That they're about the same size as the acorn ants. They're really tiny. I first saw them. I didn't know they existed. I saw in my backyard there were like 500 ants. These almost microscopic ants. They're smaller than springtails on a dandelion head, and they were harvesting. I think they were harvesting pollen. I couldn't see. They were making a food chain from the dandelion head and down into the grass. So, but literally hundreds of them, just on that one head of a dandelion.
Wow, that's pretty cool.
But they'll build their nest. They'll build their nest right next to a bigger ants colony, and then they'll dig these tiny tunnels that only they can fit through, and they'll steal eggs from the other ants. Yeah.
See, the amazing complexity of behaviors that ants exhibit is just fascinating.
It's just so cool. And I mean, just this one colony, that's one of the most basic species you can get. Like carpenter ants, about as basic as you can get, right? They're the pumpkin latte of the ant world. They so fascinating. To learn that they jump the other day was insane to me. Just to see all the cool things that they do and to observe them. I'll sit for hours and get lost.
Oh, yeah.
I'll go to check on them, and then I'll be like, why am I sore? Oh, because I've been sitting hunched over for the last hour.
Yeah, when I was a kid, like I mentioned, we had the harvester ants in the backyard, and my mom charged me with getting rid of the colony. She said, you got to get rid of that because it's stinging people, because the harvester ant sting is not a joke. It's pretty painful.
Oh, yeah.
The first time I got stung by one, I got sent home from school because my hand was swelling up and, stuff. But I spent so much time with those ants, I became completely immune to their stings.
That's like a superpower because I haven't been stung by them yet, but that Pogonum myrmex, do you know if that's a colony? That's one of the few colonies. You can send that anywhere. You can ship that anywhere you want. And I'm interested in them because they can't climb glass.
Yeah.
So very easy to keep contained.
Yeah. And their sting is not fun until you become immune to it. But they're really cool. I really enjoyed them. And they're a good size. I don't think they get as big as your Camponotus, but they're a decent size, like maybe a little over a quarter of an inch, maybe even a third of an inch. So a decent size. Very,
that sounds right.
Very defensive though. But I love them. They're fascinating.
I think they're all fascinating. And to think that they just take seeds, they harvest seeds.
Yeah, and they make bread. It's so fascinating when they grind up the grain, chew it up, and mix it with saliva, and then they put it on a piece of hot rock to bake it. That's the coolest thing ever.
Literally little like patissiere. Like they're just in all kinds of pastries.
Yeah, that's the species that Hobby has. The
apparently he does.
Ants. Yeah, and I can get those anywhere. I can just go up into the canyon 5 minutes from my house, and there are colonies everywhere. So that might be one to do. They're pretty awesome.
Yeah, I think the one of the factors definitely to take into consideration if you don't have ants is something that's easy to contain. Like I thought mine were going to be way easier to contain than they are. I'm like, oh, they're big. I'll be able to see them get away. No. All of a sudden you just see them run across your desk and you're like, oh, we have a problem. This is an issue.
Yeah, that colony I kept years ago, I used the Vaseline method, put the inch of Vaseline around every border. But I saw the same thing you did. They'd pick up pieces of garbage and toss it on to try to make
They make little stepping stones. They make little stepping stones, and then they're out, and then that's it. So they'll cover the fluon barrier with that as well. So with that lid now, it's upside down, so they can't. So now I'll have to reapply it less often. So, but yeah, I haven't had any issues since that. So, and I want to do it over again because it looks so ghetto. I did what I could with it, right? I used the tools I had available, and I need to go ahead and get the actual tools to do it because it'll just look so much better.
Yeah. I see what you're saying. It's cool though that every situation that has occurred, you've kind of fallen forward. You know what I mean? You say, okay, instead, this is trying to set me back, but instead I'm going to jump forward and learn something from this, which is awesome.
I think it was the episode I had you and Wally on. I was coming downstairs I was coming down here to jump on the air, and I realized I had a massive escape. And I
That
was
sounds
like,
familiar. That sounds familiar.
I don't have
think I
time for
remember
this. So the whole episode, I'm like looking off to the side. Like, are they still here?
I think I remember you saying something about that during the episode. Yeah.
Yeah, I could see like a little train running across, and I was like, oh no. So, Mystery Men. That was what a great movie.
That was a totally great movie. And even before that movie came out, my friends and I have had this thing about marginally useful mutant powers. We're just that would be a great marginally useful mutant power. So that's one too.
What did you come up with? I got to hear one of these now.
Oh, there's so many. I'll have to so many on the list. But oh shoot. Now that I'm on the spot, I can't think of it. If one comes to me, I'll let you know. But like Frank, I got that power too. Mosquitoes bite me, but nothing happens. No reaction.
Oh, I hate mosquitoes. They love me, but they love my kid more. And she's only 4, so it's like a nightmare. When we go out, we have to cover in bug spray.
Oh yeah. Yeah, it's really tough on the little kids, especially. Oh, good point. I love the fact that ants farm aphids. There are species of aphids that are so specialized they can't live without the ants that farm them. They're not found in the wild without those ants. Not all species of aphids that are farmed are that way, but some of them are, which is fantastic.
Well, there's so many different types of bugs that have developed the sugary secretions to get the ants to defend them. Mm-hmm. So because the ants then will keep them safe, right?
Right.
Like mealybugs, aphids. There's another one I can't think of.
Scale insects.
Yes, almost all scale insects, right? Like, and you don't want them, but I kind of want them because I want to see the ants do that.
Yeah, it would be. I think I heard about somebody who did that where they had a plant in a pot in a dish of like a big tub of water, and then they had a pot in the water, and they had a plant growing out of it with the aphids living in it, and the ants farming the aphids and whatnot, something like that.
I want to say that was Ants Canada.
Maybe it was.
He's got some amazing setups. I will give you that. But right now, his channel is all, it's like infotainment.
Mm-hmm.
It turned into what the Discovery Channel turned into, kind of. Like, it's there. There's knowledge there. But if you don't know any better, you're going to just do everything he says, and it's not all good information anymore. I think I can draw that duo for the next time we have Russ on. We'll have Immune to Ant Stings Man and Roly Poly Boy. Okay. I'm going to assume I'm Roly Poly Boy, but thanks, Wally. That power I can flick roly polies with great accuracy. That's all.
Okay, well, that's a marginally useful mutant power. As long as the roly polies, come back, they retrieve themselves, so you get them back.
They just come back. Yeah. They bounce back.
Maybe they can give you intelligence. So, you flick them, they land on someone, they listen to the person talk, and then they come back to you and tell you what they were talking about.
That seems like a very useful power.
Yeah, maybe that's no longer marginally useful.
They'd be like, what is this roly-poly doing here? I don't know. Keep telling me about your secret plans. I did get this thing. I was going to show this off today. Okay. This was a cheap piece of equipment here. So this is one of those gel ant farms, but I took the gel out. Mm-hmm. So my colony right now that has the 10 workers or whatever, they're going to go in this. Okay. But you can see how they make this stuff to just be, well, it should be pre-fitted. It basically fits really snug. So you can see the tubing and everything fits really snug. It's all kind of modular for feeding and whatnot. This is not something I recommend people buy. This is something that I was like, I'll try this out. It's $20. Let's try it and see if we can make it work.
Okay. So is that little box you opened, is that supposed to be the outworld?
This, I think it's the outworld, yeah. And I like that it has tubing, so I can make an outworld and put them somewhere else. This would be where they get their food and whatever. And then this I would fill with dirt, so they would be able to burrow.
Pardon me.
That's a good use for cocoa core, by the way.
Oh, there you go.
To mix it into your soil so ants can burrow, it gives it more stability.
Yeah.
So, and a little bit of, the retention of the moisture.
The moisture.
But there's so many great things you can use for these guys too that are just, you don't think about it. Like I can't go to a home improvement store anymore without taking weird side trips. Like, oh, this would be perfect for the roly-polies. This would be perfect for Springtails.
Yeah, I hear you there.
My wife's like, come on, we're here for light bulbs. What are you doing?
Yep, I'm always over by the bins. Oh, I need a few more isopod bins while we're at the hardware store. Here we are. When do I not need more isopod bins?
Yeah, stay out of the Container Store. That's my advice. That place is a invert keeper's like dream/nightmare. You'll spend so much money there once you get into the Container Store.
See, that's probably, it's a good thing there isn't one very close to me, because I know that would happen for sure.
Right? And yeah, don't check them online either.
Yeah, I do go to the craft store and I see the acrylic containers, bring them home, and I'm just itching to drill those for ventilation, just so that's I totally get it.
You just have to be so careful. What were you saying? Where they dump their dead? Ant Shack. Oh. I haven't used Ant Shack and I haven't heard much about them. I think I would just check their reviews and see if somebody's done a review video on them. I'd like to get big enough to have people send me stuff to try without having to pay for it. I would definitely do product reviews if I had their products. Like when I get a setup from, I want to say his name is Mick, and I'm sad that the other folks that are into Tar Heel Ants aren't here to correct me. I was trying to get him on the show for a while, and then I fell off and forgot. But I would love to do a product review of his products for him, just because I definitely want to buy one anyway. His setups are so cool. There's some great 3D printed stuff out there on eBay and Amazon. There's one that looks like little space modules that I really think is cool. I don't know how practical it is, but it looks really cool, and I like that idea. And there's a guy doing like beehive ones now. It's like hexagons that stack, and each one is a little different. One he set up as a planter, one is like a little fish tank, one is the outworld, one is the nest. There's all kinds of great ideas. Etsy has good stuff, and you're supporting local businesses and creators. That's good. That's
true. That's a good point. Yeah, I love the idea of starting again with newer, the benefiting from the last couple of decades of what the hobby has developed. And things like 3D printers, which didn't exist when I was keeping ants, that kind of stuff.
3D printers have changed the game for everything, I think. But I think we're spoiled for choice. But I would say be very careful before you buy, like buyer beware. Check reviews. Do a deep dive on reviews. Take it serious. If somebody gives them a 1 star, take it as serious.
There's
Look into it. I mean,
we're
all hobbyists, so take it with that educated guess. Like, is he really making this up, or is this a real problem? Is this something that he could have foreseen? Because there are so many different products out there that are fine, but like this thing is fine. I'm sure it'll do the job, but not with the gel. It had like this gelatin in it.
Oh yeah,
death. That's ant death right there. So,
and they say when you buy it, they say this is the only thing the ants need. They eat it, they drink it, they live in it, they burrow in it. It's all they need, but it's not.
And then they give you a coupon. Yeah, they give you a coupon to buy like worker ants. You don't get a queen. So yeah, I guess those workers would live on there about as long as they normally would, but it's not going to be very much fun for very long. But I think I can make this work. Like, I want to be able to see if I can make this work.
Yeah, well, with the knowledge that you have gained through your research and through your experience, it makes sense that you could take something that is less than optimal and then optimize it.
Yeah, on the cheap, because I'm very budget conscious with all these little crazy projects that I have. So I think ants could be that way. They can be like a lot of hobbies. They're as expensive as you need them to be, right? Or as you want them to be. You could make something cheap. You could DIY it, which I kind of hate the term DIY because everybody thinks that means it's cheap. They don't consider that you need $1,000 worth of tools to DIY a good project. There's so many great channels that have great DIY tips, but then they pull out like this $500 table saw or, and it's like, no, that's not cheaper for me. What are you doing?
Yeah. If you already have this arsenal of tools, sure. Then that's something you can do. But without that, you need that initial investment of getting all those tools. And that's when it starts to become cheaper. So yeah, exactly.
Right, which is why I like invertebrates, because you can do it on a small scale, and you don't have to be crazy involved in all these huge things like that you would get for like reptiles or amphibians or whatever else that needs that extra care, right?
Right. And in many cases, you can fit it in like a square foot or a few square feet.
Easily.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's good. Let's see how the girls are doing. Are they still going crazy or are they?
Let's check it out.
I can see them doing something from here. Oh, no, they're calm again. Okay.
Well, we got to see some pretty good action when that cricket was hopping in there.
I liked that they immediately swarmed out.
Yeah.
Oh, we're going to get you.
Yeah, that was cool. Thanks, Wally. He, I guess that's our signal. We need to wind down because other people are going to go on and whatnot.
Right.
But
we're going to follow Wally.
Yeah.
I'm going to run over there and blow on the tank really quick. Blow on just over that geode. I want you to see the reaction they give.
Okay, let's check it out. That was sweet.
So that's a defensive reaction right there.
Yeah, that was almost instant too. That was very cool.
Yeah, I was like, I'm gonna blow hard enough they can see the ants move and then see how fast this is.
Yeah.
So like I said, under that little geode is where their like main entrance is. So they're all in there just waiting.
Just waiting to pour out. Yeah, that is really cool. I'm glad you did that. That is quite the dramatic reaction. Oh, now it's freezing.
Of course.
Oh, there it goes. Going back. That's pretty cool.
Of course it is.
So do you think they're reacting more to the movement of the air or the chemical signals they're getting from?
I think it's the movement and the smell.
Yeah.
And then they're letting each other know. Like they immediately let out an alarm, and the other ants react immediately. You can see it. If you can see the whole tank, you can kind of see the reaction go like a wave.
Okay, so it's a chain reaction occurring.
It does about a square foot. And then the other ants on the other side of the tank, they don't care. They're oblivious to what's happening.
Huh.
But when they do the feeding reaction, I've noticed when the other day I put 5 crickets in. I put that video on my YouTube. It's like a minute. It's a minute long. So there's a reaction through the whole tank. After 2 minutes, the whole tank is a carpet of ants, just like a net.
Wow, that is cool.
Yeah, so you saw the mouth that they have to feed. So they are constantly looking for protein. So protein is for egg laying and for the queen, basically, to make the eggs, and for the larva. And then once they're adults, they don't need protein anymore because they're not growing. So they just take carbohydrates.
And what do you use mostly for that? Sugar water, or do you do other things?
I'm experimenting now. I was for a while just using pure honey.
Mm-hmm.
I was just laying honey out for them, and they love honey. They go crazy. And then organic, cool honey that I don't even eat myself. I eat the cheap stuff. But now I'm experimenting with, I have a bowl of that little green. You can see the little green cap there is the cane sugar in the raw cane sugar. And then there's one that is brown sugar and one that is honey as well. I wanted to make sure they had their honey. But you can tell when they've been out for a day because I put a new dish in and they swarm it. It's just like this ring of ants around the top.
So do they have a preference for any of those sugars or sugar sources? They
still seem to prefer the honey, but they are really taken to this morning when I put it in, they went to the sugar and the raw immediately. Like that was their jam. So right now there's probably, well, when I went to go blow, I just glanced at it, but it looked like it was about evenly distributed through the 3 cups.
Okay.
But like they use their social stomachs, so they glut and then they go share it and they're fine for a while. So they'll have not like a honeypot ant, but they'll have a storage, right? Their little lunch boxes full, so they don't need to go crazy.
And they're fine taking it dry and then just mixing it with water or something from what they drink.
Well, I mixed so I have one thing of dry sugar in there that I wanted them to try because I've never done that before, and I just did that today on a whim. And then the other 3 are mixed with water to varying degrees. So they process it better, so it's easier for them to process. And I feel like in this tank I need to make things a little harder for them because they're a little too successful. So they can and they have eaten Repashy Bug Burger. They fight the isopods for it. Like you'll see the isopods kind of sneak in and drag a piece off. So they don't seem to bother the isopods too much, but they are food defensive. If the isopods come after something they want, they'll fight them off. Yeah, and the isopods are more than happy to be like, okay. But they don't go far. So in here I have milkbacks, Marina, Punta Cana, and something else. T-negative albino armadillidium in here.
And they all seem to be doing fine.
Yeah, I mean, I think the numbers are down, actually. I think these girls are getting so protein hungry to feed those babies that they're taking the numbers down on the isopods. I haven't seen an active attack, but I haven't seen as many isopods. So, and this, like I said, the springtails are like weirdly missing.
Yeah. Well, I notice with a lot of colonies, even isopod colonies, if you get the isopods really thriving, like these ants are thriving, sometimes the springtails just disappear.
Yeah, that's true too. I like my milkbacks or my dairy cows don't have any springtails, and I don't know why, because that's where I first had my major boom of springtails. But my dairy cows, I don't notice them. I wonder if they just get too many of the nutrients.
I think that's what happens. As far as I've been able to tell, you get a colony that's just, once the isopods are reaching close to the carrying capacity, they outcompete the springtails actually. And there's nothing much else in there too. You don't really get fungus gnats or anything, mites, whatever. It's just not there because there's nothing extra. The isopods finish it all off super fast.
I need to find something that eats more isopods to keep, just to keep my numbers down a little bit. Try to keep them under control because I don't sell. So
you need to get an army of toads or something.
I know, right?
Do your newts like isopods?
They liked like powder blues
because they're softer bodied.
Yeah, I didn't want to give them anything hard shelled. Watching them try to eat ghost shrimp has been hilarious because they are really derpy and they can't really get them. Like they see them move for a minute and then they're like, "Wait, where'd it go?" And it's right there. The ghost shrimp is still right there, just kind of holding still. Oh, a Leo, that would be a good idea. I know many people with Leos that I could get. I had to take isopods out of my crested gecko enclosure because there were too many. Like they just bred and bred and bred.
The crested geckos weren't eating them, huh?
No, I just have one male. He does not care about insects at all.
Well, I have a male like that too, actually, Krusty, that does not want to eat bugs. Ever.
Yeah, I did it for a year. I tried, and I just give him the Repashy, or not Repashy.
Pangea?
The Pangea, the one with the fig and insects or whatever.
Oh, yeah, Pangea Complete.
Yes, I feed that like once a week, and then a fruit one once a week. There's a species of centipede native to UK that feeds exclusively on springtails. I have an isopod spider, like a
Dicera cocata, yeah.
Yeah, I have one of those, but he doesn't do that good of a job. He could take down like one a week. So,
someone asked me about that. They wanted one to see if they could help control their isopod colony. They didn't want them overbreeding. So I sent them an isopod hunter spider.
Okay.
It turned out to be a female.
Oh.
It produced some more, and now he said he has a container in which there are only isopod hunter spiders. The isopod totally cleared out the isopods from that colony.
That is crazy.
And it took a while, but it happened. So
that is crazy. Mine just eats maybe one a week, and I worry about putting too many in case it molts or something. I don't know much about them, but I keep them damp. And he found me, so he was in my basement, and they are the creepiest spider alive. So the whole time me catching him, I wish I had a camera, like a drone that followed me to take video of me catching that spider, because I'm 6'4" and almost 300 pounds. Like, and I was, oh, whoa, trying to scoop it up on paper, and it wouldn't move at all until it got on the paper and then ran straight from my hand each time. So it took me like 6 tries to get him. And I was like, I'm going to smash this thing. I'm just going to do it. It's going to be instinct. I'm not going to even realize I did it. And then I'm going to be mad at myself. But he's fine. He's fine.
Cool.
So yeah, it was just, yeah, I'm not a spider guy, or especially not a centipede guy.
Well, everybody's got something that makes them a little nervous, right?
Yeah.
For me, it's certain spiders, especially if they're surprise spiders.
Surprise insects are never great.
And even though I appreciate spiders, I like them, and I want, I have some, but it's at the same time, if one surprises me, I'm not super comfortable.
Yeah, just all of a sudden, like when they all of a sudden come down from the ceiling.
Yeah,
while you're
like
driving.
Land on your neck or right on your face or something. Yeah, that can be a little disturbing.
Yeah, I can't handle that. They won't usually eat insects until they don't see you anymore.
We talking about a kind of gecko?
Frank the Tank, who says he's talking to 503. I don't know, theropod.
Oh, because 503 said none of her cresties eat bugs.
Okay.
Yeah, I've noticed some of them don't, and some of them do when they're young, and then they don't when they get older. Like we have one we've had for like 7 or 8 years or something. She used to eat bugs all the time. She was excited about it. Now, not so much. It's crested gecko diet for her most of the time. She's not that bugs.
The only thing I got mine to eat was waxworms, and that's one of those things you don't want to give them a lot of, right? So,
right.
I mean, he got them like 3 times, and the other bugs got the rest of them. So, because they go bad so quick.
Yeah, that makes sense.
So, did anybody have any other questions about keeping ants as we kind of wind down and try to think of awful superpowers?
Yeah, I need to. We could do a whole live stream on marginally useful mutant powers. It'd be fun. But let's see. Well, do you have a second to hang on after we end the broadcast? We could talk for a minute.
Okay. Absolutely. I always have time.
Excellent. Well, this has been great. I've enjoyed learning about your ants and being able to see them. And I think we got some really great questions today. And I'm energized. I want to get back into the ant hobby after a hiatus of a couple of decades. So this
awesome.
It's amazing what there is available now, both in terms of information and equipment and so on. So pretty awesome. Thank you again for joining us, everybody. Check out Isobuddies Productions. If you like hearing people talk about various arthropods and other critters, why are you not subscribed? That's what I would say.
That's what I say every week.
All right. Well, thanks, everybody. And we'll catch you later. Make sure to catch my video on Friday and check out Isobuddies Productions if you haven't already.
Please.